government of Kiambu. These are children who will have been very better leaders than the governor we have here today. We know that you can do PR and public gimmicks with everything else, but you cannot do gimmicks with healthcare. The doctors have been out of work, pushed by the county government for now 138 days. Yet the county goes to media disputing numbers of deaths, disputing that the hospital is working, disputing and saying things are okay. Yet mothers have gone home without their children. Yet the hospitals are here without drugs. The hospitals are here and people cannot get care. We are saying that this issue of governance must stop. We must deal with rogue governance in a rogue way. There is no way we can say things are okay when we cannot get the services. We cannot say things are okay when doctors are out. And therefore today we are happy that the public have taken upon themselves to see that there is change in this county. That the doctors have come out in big numbers to say no to impunity. That the media community and everybody else is saying that if you are elected, you are not elected for yourself. You are elected to serve.
People power. Let it be known that those structures, those systems ran for a whole year plus. Na pia julikane kwamba kati ya mambo ambayo tulikuwa tunazungumzia ni kwamba madaktari wetu wana bima ya afya insurance. SHA ilikuwa ifanye kazi. Hapa kuna madaktari ambao wanaugua ugonjwa wa kansa. Wanapohudumia wagonjwa, wao pia wanaenda kupata nini? Chemotherapy. Alafu hapa wamepeana chemotherapy. Na wakienda kule kwingine kupata chemotherapy, hawapati. Je, huo ni ungwana? Nataka niulize swali lingine. Nini mnaamini vile mnaangalia Kiambu hii? Vile mnaangalia hizi suti wa Matangi anavaa? Vile mnaangalia hizi suti Patrick Nyaga anavaa? Mnaamini kwamba Kiambu haina pesa?
And Kibra Member of Parliament Peter Orero's driver, George Odror, was on Monday fined 100,000 Kenya shillings after pleading guilty to charges of dangerous overtaking and obstructing other road users.
Odror appeared before the Milimani Traffic Court after a viral video showed him blocking motorists along a Nairobi road.
And according to the prosecution, the incident occurred on October 9th along Oloitoktok Road in Nairobi, where Odror dangerously overtook a line of vehicles, causing obstruction and endangering other drivers.
When the charges were read, Odror admitted to the offense and pleaded for leniency, explaining that he was rushing to drop someone at the airport at that time.
In a ruling, the presiding magistrate noted Odror's remorse but emphasized that the law provides for a fine of up to 100,000 shillings for such a traffic offense.
I've also considered the section of the law under which the accused person has been charged with. The same provides for a sentence, a fine of Kenya shillings 100,000. Therefore, I will award that as being the maximum fine under that particular section. You will pay a fine of 100,000 in default to serve 12 months imprisonment. You have 14 days right of appeal if dissatisfied with the order of this court.
The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, EACC, has successfully recovered a prime government parcel of land valued at 35 million Kenya shillings in Bungoma County.
Now, the half-acre property located next to the Bungoma State Lodge in Milimani had been illegally acquired by a private developer who demolished an existing government house and replaced it with a multi-million shilling luxury mansionette.
And according to EACC officials, the land, which had been reserved for government use, was fraudulently transferred to the developer through irregular means.
The commission confirmed Now, the recovered property will be reverted to government ownership to ensure proper use of public benefit.
This court finds that the plaintiff's reliance on subsequent letters and acceptance of payments cannot cure the illegality created by the cancellation of the sale. The cancellation circular of 28th of July 2008 remained the operative instrument, and unless and until it was expressly withdrawn or replaced by another circular of the same or higher authority, the purported sale and validation process remained legally ineffective. Order of eviction is hereby issued directing the plaintiff, e-servants, agents, or assigns to vacate Bungoma Township 169. G. The cost of the plaintiff's suit and the counterclaim are awarded to the defendant. It is so ordered.
All right, welcome. Let's get started on what is making headlines across the newspapers this morning. Now we'll kick it off with the Daily Nation, which speaks of State House scare, as several security breaches have rocked the president's official residence, including the killing of an intruder in 2017. Now, one Kithuka Kimunyi, a man that the picture has been fronted on the pages, I hope you can be able to take a look at that, was loitering around State House, Nairobi, yesterday when he drew an arrow and shot GSU officer Ramadan Matanka to death. It emerged the two were known to each other. What was the reason for this deadly fallout between apparent bosom buddies outside Kenya's premier address? Now, the gentleman we are speaking about is, the picture is on top of the page, and that's a story that is on page 4 and 5 this morning, yes, that speaks of State House security scare. Now, one of the most protected buildings in the Republic of Kenya, obviously, is State House, or any presidential, official residence. Could be Nairobi, could be, in Nyeri or in Kisumu, Mombasa. Those are one of the most protected buildings, and even the Constitution guarantees their protection. So it's a question of what exactly went wrong for an arrow to find its way inside State House through a GSU officer, and the man ends up dead. Okay,
it's very funny, Cynthia, and dangerously funny because, as we've put it, State House is the most protected part, maybe a place in a country, because it hosts the most important people in a state or even in a country. And actually, Daily Nation is putting it very right, that this person was just loitering around State House. This is very funny, and this person is using bow and arrows. Does it mean that we don't have proper security around State House? And when you try to compare a GSU officer and just an intruder, just person loitering around, passing around with a bow and arrow, does it mean that this person is more armored, or even is strongly armored than the GSU officer?
I mean, it raises very serious questions, in terms of who was on duty, how do they operate, how far are barriers put, or at least security barriers, how far they put, and, if this is the most secure address, then how is it possible that a man dies inside the most secure address? So that is a top of the page story. We'll be keeping tabs to just see what happens and what the security officers will be able to, give a report about that. Also, top of the page, how Gachagua party is growing influence and has stirred Mount Kenya. And a fierce political battle is brewing in the region as former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua moves to consolidate the voting bloc under his new party, DCP. That's a story that is on page 10. Now, DCP obviously is a new baby in town. I don't know if it's still a new baby, or we could say it's a party that has been in the offing, was brought into foreplay at about May, June thereabout, and so it's been in existence roughly 4 months. And so it's a scramble for Mount Kenya, fear, ambition, and the DCP effect, which for me always reminds me of the UDA party, and when it came into the offing with the then now Deputy President, William Ruto, who was then the DP, and just how it overforced it was. And Jubilee was struggling to keep up with UDA then.
Yes, and DCP, I think, is coming with full force. And Gachagua was the deputy president, and the procedure of him taking him out of the seat, it was a battled fight. And now when he came from the same, he came out trying to tarnish maybe what he knew what was happening in the seat, or even what happens in the state. And by so doing, his popularity came a bit high. So I think when he tries to transition from the same deputy president seat to him making a political party, I think when he's going to Mount Kenya and trying to consolidate or votes from the region, I think in one way or the other, even if he won't be in the ballot come 2027, I think he shall have a big impact when it comes to voting and maybe trying to pick out someone for the candidacy.
Yeah, and in addition, it's also to just curtail the popularity of UDA perhaps in some of the regions in Kenya, Mount Kenya, for instance, where UDA was largely the dominant party. And so it's a question on whether DCP can be able to cut down on that. And if they do so, then that changes the perspective of just where UDA party is of, or where it is as of now.
Yes.
Also, MP's think tank warns against higher taxes. That's also a story on top of the Daily Nation, where Parliament budget experts have asked the National Treasury to stop burdening Kenyans with extra taxes, arguing that past increases have not yielded the projected revenues. The Parliamentary Budget Office says new taxes have stoked widespread public apathy and led to poor revenue collection. Now, this is one of the biggest problems that could be facing MSMEs in the country, that as you as a person that is interested in opening a business, but you're worried that legitimizing this business through registration and taking of licenses, you're going to have to be on the radar of KRA, and they're going to monitor your income. Failure to remit taxes through your business, then obviously it welcomes more fines and more taxes in the near future. But it's a question of, can the economy slow down at this point where we are? If you compare now with 10 years ago, 2015, it's a completely different ballgame. Same as you compare now to 2035, will be a completely different ballgame. And so it's a question of, can the economy not really slow down, but are we able to have leaders who can slow it down on our behalf, so that as a Kenyan, you're not able to really feel these taxes, but at the same time, you can enjoy revenues and development from the same government.
Yes, and it's quite funny. I'm seeing a big figure here, seen there, of about 342 billion Kenya shillings that KRA has missed as revenue targets over the 2 years. And we're looking at the MPs trying to warn against imposing more and bigger taxes to citizens. And we also see, and it is actually, this is already in place, and we see in over the last 2 years, we see the target is less or even lower by 342 billion Kenya shillings. This is to mean when it comes to us collecting revenue or taxes, this is to mean that we don't actually account for what we collect, or even because sometimes I saw these Kancho people from others and from KRA, they are collecting these 50s and 30 shillings from maybe vendors just around, but you never know how. I think we are supposed to be paying this to maybe a pay bill or to a one number, whereby we are able to consolidate it in one position, then we can account for it, or even do a maths to see that today we collect this amount of money, but we find a lot of people from the Kanjo, they are collecting a lot of money, but then you don't have receipt for them. You don't pay through your phone, your M-Pesa. So this is, to me, we need to have better records if we are going to collect. And actually, we are collecting a lot of taxes, but we don't know where it goes. I think after we collect, after it goes back to KRA, to the government, where the taxes goes to the government coffers. I think it is supposed to go there, then get back to the people, so that it develops people, it pays maybe for issues like KMPDO, health, and maybe education. Right. But we don't see where it goes and comes back to.
Interesting take. Now to the headline on top of the Standard newspaper this morning that speaks of another experiment. And this was something we spoke on yesterday concerning this Nyota program. So is it another experiment? Now, President William Ruto's newest youth empowerment drive, the 5 billion shillings Nyota fund, is drawing fire from economists and politicians who say it mirrors past flops like the Hustler Fund. Now, critics argue that the plan risks adding to Kenya's ballooning debt while offering mere unsustainable grants of 50,000 shillings to a few. Analysts warn that without solid policy reform, Nyota may shine briefly and then fade like its predecessor. So 5 billion shillings has been borrowed from World Bank to fund this Nyota. 50,000 shillings is the grant that will go to small entrepreneurs who will benefit from it. And then 13.6 billion shillings is the amount the World Bank has agreed to advance the country for the entire program. So we spoke largely about this yesterday, and we compared it to the Hustler Fund, the Women Enterprises Fund, and we talked about how this was not budgeted, unlike the Hustler Fund, which was actually budgeted for, is even budgeted for this year. So we've got the Nyota Fund, we've taken as a debt, a loan from World Bank, 5 billion shillings, and then you've got the Hustler Fund, which is also being funded with, I believe, more than 1 billion shillings as well for this financial year. Yet, you know, the testimonies and even government knows that they've gone losses in terms of the Hustler Fund. Okay,
Cynthia, yesterday we tackled this very intensively, and you see, suppose we're getting this money from the government already, money that maybe we've collected from our taxes. I think it would be easy for us trying to disburse the money to young people and giving the grants of maybe 50,000 Kenyan shillings to each and every other entrepreneur. And I pinpointed something very key. We've borrowed money from the World Bank, and there's a lot of 50 billion. That's a lot of money, and it's given to people. Yes, I saw there's a training that will be taking place. But after you may go to a class whereby you are 50 of them. Do you all succeed? Do you all achieve or get A's for the same? Then my question is, we've borrowed from World Bank. Then we've disbursed the money to different people. And before we disburse the money to each and every person who intends to be a new entrepreneur, actually it's a startup. Then after you do that, you given the money, then you start off a business that maybe you're not sure that will be bringing or will be giving back something. Cynthia, then your business does not catch well. Then the money just fades, as they putting it, as the predecessor, like the Hustler Fund. Now, where will they get money to pay back to World Bank after? Where umepoteza hiyo pesa? Ama haijarudi?
Wow, I mean, one would only struggle to just understand the thinking behind this funding model. There's nothing wrong, like I said, with empowering Kenyans and empowering young people, but just the funding model. How are we going to fund it in a way that it's, one, sustainable, it's reasonable, and it's realistic? So that is one of the conversations we'll be having with our guest in studio this morning. So it is actually 7:34 minutes, or 34 minutes past 7 a.m. Allow us to take a break at that point. But when we come back, we'll be having a conversation around that to just get their perspective, what I think this is and what it is not, and much more that is happening across Kenya.
Thank you for watching Morning Live. We're coming back in a short while.